After long and major discussions between Formula One and its drivers, they have settled on a deal for the 2024 calendar. We will again see 23 races. Drivers threatened an immediate strike if F1 pushed for more next season. Abu Dhabi is back on for this weekend's season finale.
Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 23 Driver Career Mode, the season finale. You heard it there. So we ended Las Vegas on an interesting phone call with Mark on the plane, and he told us to fly to London where we would have a big meeting with F1 and the reps over the calendar for next season, where the drivers threatened a strike. And fortunately, we were able to come to a positive conclusion and end up racing this weekend in Abu Dhabi. But here's a very brief conversation just from a few drivers over what they were really looking for.
We don't need any more races, guys. Come on. We travel across the world all year long and need time with some of our family. Please don't add more.
Lewis is right. This is ridiculous. You add more races, we're not showing up to Abu Dhabi.
We're all with Christian on this one.
Yeah, I can agree.
Well, we all know Logan's just gonna agree with the majority.
Why don't you shut the
Anyways, there's a brief part of the conversation. We came to an agreement and, well, we ended up showing up to Abu Dhabi as F1 agreed to just keep 23 races on the 2024 season calendar, making everybody at least, accept it. So here's what I had to do. Is you're going to see me in practice. You guys know F1 23 has a contract glitch where you have to sign a contract and basically do the roster moves and go to your new team for Abu Dhabi instead of the start of the actual next season. Well, you see I'm still with AlphaTauri. So what I had to do, I had to start a completely new save on the game to fix the contract glitch. So it is fixed for new career mode saves. So I restarted, simmed a whole season, and carried off at Abu Dhabi, and the contract glitch is no longer there, and we can start next season with Aston Martin. However, this is on the new save, so you're not going to see accurate points and whatnot, but we already know how it played out. We're not going to be able to pass anybody in front of us. Max Verstappen's won the title. Nico Hülkenberg's all retiring, etc. Those kind of things have already been decided anyways, so the championship is not up for grabs in any ways for anything. It's all been decided, so it's okay to kind of switch over to this save. I now actually decided to do this because I was watching Matt212's career mode, and I saw in Season 2 he had the season contract glitch at Abu Dhabi still, and I was wondering if it was fixed at the end of Season 2 since they patched it. And once I saw that, I said, okay, well, I'm going to just sim a season and make sure the glitch is fixed, because I don't want to deal with that the whole career mode where we have to sign to a new team or see driver moves going into Abu Dhabi. It's just stupid. I, however, in qualifying Saturday night, set a crazy Q1 lap. We went P6 while my teammate of Yuki Tsunoda was out in Q1, P18 for him over Hülkenberg in his final qualifying effort in Logan Sargent. I got really, really lucky in this career mode sim through the season that Hülkenberg ended up retiring in the same fashion that he did in the original career mode save, so I was pretty happy about that. You really can't get much luckier. Here we are in Q2, and I was finding a lot of pace in Sector 3. Sector 1, Sector 2, I was meh, and then Sector 3, I was really, really quick, and this would carry us through into Q3. We would make Q3 in our final weekend with the AlphaTauri team before switching over to, of course, Aston Martin, replacing Lance Stroll, who I can confirm has a ride on the grid for next season. That will be, of course, shown off in the next episode. Now, I'm not going to do an off-season video. There's just not a whole lot to go over. There's only a few minor changes with liveries and whatnot, so just stay tuned. We'll go over it all at the beginning of next episode. It'll be like an off-season segment to start it, but that's it. There's no whole video for it. Here we are in Q3. Unfortunately, I got slower and slower as qualifying went on, and that would prove to stand up to the facts here as we come through the final turn in Q3, and I had nothing. It was P10. It wasn't even close to 9th. So yeah, P10 is where we are going to start here in Abu Dhabi, but to make Q3 in our final race weekend with AlphaTauri is pretty awesome. Russell and Hamilton, Mercedes front row lockout. Hamilton hasn't won since Miami. Could he change that here in Abu Dhabi? Let's find out.
It's time then for one final race in this year's Formula One World Championship. 2010 saw 4 drivers in contention for the title coming into this race, with Sebastian Vettel prevailing to become the youngest world champion to date. Is there one last sting in the tail awaiting us today? Well, it's time to find out. Here at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, we have 16 corners here at Yas Marina circuit, 7 to the right and 9 to the left. It's a total lap distance of 3.28 miles, 2 long straights and overtaking opportunities throughout the lap. We expect average speeds of around 123 miles per hour. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Verstappen, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Norris, Gasly, Golden Boy, Albon, Perez, Ocon, Zhou, Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, Bottas, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg and Logan Sargent. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. With the Grand Prix nearly upon us, Anthony Davidson is by my side once again to offer his perspective.
The key now will be to keep in the right mindset. We've seen time and again that things go wrong if you just try and do the minimum. Not necessarily because of the pressure, but because it's different to your usual approach. They'll need to avoid that and stay focused today.
Everybody's here on the grid. We're just happy that we didn't end up on strike, of course, and missing the Grand Prix, but now, ready to roll. It's going to be a medium to hard compound tire strategy for everybody except for Valtteri Bottas, who's starting on the soft tire. Russell, Hamilton, the front row. Let's get ready to roll for the final time this season.
Here we go then. The formation lap is underway and the track temperature looks warm. That may or may not play into some of the team's hands in today's race. As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can, and they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
I just want to say thank you to the team for the support. All of my rookie season has been a pleasure. Mark, thank you for all your hard work, although this isn't goodbye. You're coming with me to Aston next season.
Yep, what he said. Thanks, everyone.
Our final race start here with AlphaTauri in Abu Dhabi. It's going to be an interesting one here. Abu Dhabi is very hit or miss in the F1 game. Sometimes you have a crazy race, sometimes you have a very boring and calm race. You don't really know what to expect. But we're about to find out what to expect here as we get ready to roll. 5 red lights. Norris there right in front of us now. It's going to be lights out. We're underway. George Russell, Lewis Hamilton will lead the way down towards turn 1. Russell immediately able to cover off his teammate of Hamilton down into turn 1. You got both Ferraris up here in the mix with Leclerc as well as Carlos Sainz. Ferrari's been on an absolute tear at the end of this season now. Can they keep that momentum, of course, going into tonight and mainly going into next season? As you guys know, there is regulation changes on the way at the end of the season, and from what I'm hearing, we might have hit a jackpot by going to Aston Martin here for next season. Of course, on loan from Red Bull. It's only a 1-year contract that we have with Aston Martin. So, Red Bull could then call us to their team, although we have an option to say no and keep going with Aston Martin at the end of season 2. We'll have to wait and see. But from what I'm hearing, Aston Martin has all of their parts adapted, and they might be looking like the fastest team so far going into next season. However, we'll have to wait and see how that actually shows up here once we get into Bahrain. So I'm very excited though for what could be coming here. As you can see myself behind my future car of Lance Stroll, Lando Norris side by side with Lance, but you can see Norris fades in behind my fellow Canadian there as we head down into this well into this third sector at this point, of course, now. But overall, a pretty decent start here. P9, as you can see, already at lap 2. Here comes Lewis Hamilton to the right side of Russell. They're going to be side by side down into the chicane. Sainz, Verstappen a little bit further back. They're ready to pounce on an opportunity if if it opens up, but Hamilton through he goes into P1. Not really much of a contest there from George Russell as that was happening. Now I was sizing up a move actually on Lando Norris here as we went down towards the long sweeping left hairpin, and sure enough we should be able to get clear, but hold on, he's going to fight back on the right side. Norris has the power down and he stays back ahead. So down into P9 we go once again here. As you can see myself really struggling right there for some grip. And that would become a bit of a common trend here in these opening laps, and I would start to fall backwards. As you can see, this is Pierre Gasly, as well as the Williams of Alex Albon, both going past me. They make wheel-to-wheel contact right there as they enter the chicane side by side, but I was struggling really hard all of a sudden. I would start to fade, so down to P11. But it wasn't over. Zhou Guanyu, Sergio Perez, who I completely forgot to mention, missed Q3 in Abu Dhabi this weekend, now starting to replicate real-life stuff here with Perez, but they were both all over me here on lap 4, and this is Zhou going past me, and you can see the engine icon is about, what, dark orange? Now, my gearbox is very worn. I did not change that coming into this Grand Prix, so that could be a bit problematic here as the race goes on, but there goes Perez. We're down to P13, continuing to struggle after what was a pretty promising start, of course a very promising qualifying effort, and now it's kind of translated into really poor race pace now. As you can see myself lap 7 all over the back of Zhou Guanyu. I was able to stick with Zhou at least and put some pressure on him, and we are going to be able to hopefully overtake him around the outside here now as we head through the long sweeping left-hander, and you can see he fights back. He goes wide nearly into the side of us, but we get around him, but it wasn't over. We would have this back and forth fight here because in Sector 3 I could pull away, but not enough. So he would stay in the DRS, he would run me down, pass me, and then I would pass him back on the next straightaway. Same situation lap 9. He goes past me out of the chicane. I'm going to be able to put the, of course, pressure on him and pass him again. This would continue on, and we were destroying each other's times every single lap here and bringing the cars behind us like Oscar Piastri and Magnussen right into the battle there. As you see Hamilton, Russell still out in front now. Look at this. This is a battle for second as Russell is 3 wide in the middle with Carlos Sainz as well as Max Verstappen, who's trying to go around the outside of both of them. They both get Russell, who drops to 4th. Sainz and now 2nd. Verstappen and him would continue to fight here, and Verstappen right here through the penultimate corner is going to shut the door right there on Sainz. Up into 2nd place he goes. The battles continue with Zhou. It's actually lap 12. Yellow flags in front of us in the hairpin, and it's Lance Stroll. It looks like he's gone around somewhere on this hairpin. I don't know where. Found him. Oh my goodness, that was close. No safety car, surprisingly, so we stay green. As you can see a replay, and he's just going to do Lance Stroll things here that he's done all season long. He just loops it around. Not the first time this season. He has most certainly spun around more times than anybody else has this season. Zhou passes me again, but I decided to not fight him back because I was going to short pit. So we're going to come in about a lap or 2 earlier than the majority of the field to put on a fresh set of hard tires, and hopefully this will allow me to build enough of a gap to Zhou and be well out of the DRS, and then hopefully he can't get to me, was kind of the goal. And I was hoping this would allow me to get a little bit closer to the Williams of Alex Albon within the DRS and maybe be able to stick with him. If I can't get his DRS, I would not be surprised if Zhou and them are actually able to run me back down, but we'll wait and see what happens here. Now, as you can see, the leader of Lewis Hamilton now into the pits, bringing Max Verstappen with them as well. Looks like Charles Leclerc. Sainz, Russell stayed out. You can see Alonso, our future teammate, just headed into his box now. I'm so excited to be teammates alongside Fernando Alonso's AI going into next season. We haven't really had a huge teammate challenge this season aside from the odd race, so I'm hoping that changes next season with Alonso behind the wheel of the Aston Martin. But we get past Zhou very easily. Actually, we're quite a ways ahead of him, but there's Albon, and unfortunately we're not within DRS. We're 1.5 seconds back, which was just a little bit, of course, outside of where we needed to be of that 1 second threshold. So not where I wanted to be. But unfortunately, things would start to get worse. So because of the lack of DRS and my pace seemed to be really struggling, I was losing time very quickly to the cars behind. Esteban Ocon, Kevin Magnussen, Zhou Guanyu, they were all closing in very quickly on myself here. So I knew we were in trouble. They had closed the gap, and then I started having a gear issue here. I was going from 5th, skipping 4th, down to 3rd. So I lost 4th gear, and that would allow Ocon, Magnussen, Zhou to even get much faster, get closer to me here, unfortunately, and I just didn't have enough to fight Ocon when he got to me, so I just had no other choice than to let him breeze past. So down to 13th place, and a bit of a rough Grand Prix we're having, to say the least, but at the same time, we're not running terrible. We're still running P13 with a car that's still not great by the end of this first season, but unfortunately, still lacking that fourth gear, and that just does not allow me to attack like the way I want to. I was a bit surprised by the just one gear being missing having such an effect on my performance suddenly, but we got back past right there Kevin Magnussen, who's under pressure from Zhou Guanyu. Now, we would get the fourth gear back here shortly, as they're going to try and fight up to me there as they try to split me 3 wide. Doesn't quite work, so we stay ahead as we're going to go through the grid for the final time this season.
Hamilton in complete control of this race as he looks for his second win of the year. Max Verstappen is a whole 4 seconds behind.
Yeah, Max just hasn't quite had the pace tonight, has he? I doubt he cares too much, as both titles have been sealed for a while now. Ted, what have you got for us?
Yeah, guys. What a season it has been. Just wanted to add that Lewis told me this weekend that this is the pace they expect to bring next year. They have been closely working with Aston Martin in an attempt to tag team defeat Red Bull next year after what has been a dominant 2 seasons from them.
All right, thanks, Ted. We'll see if those wrestling tactics will work for both teams or not in their efforts next year. It's been a fun 2023 season. Now let's send it back over to Formula Owen one more time.
Well, there you have it. Through the Grid turned into more of talking about R&D for next season. But yeah, you kind of heard that there. So Mercedes and Aston Martin working very closely together to try and just, tag team and take down Red Bull for next season. However, you can see myself losing another position there to Kevin Magnussen. We were actually down to P12, so we actually gained a spot because Perez had made a second pit stop. He was now on the soft tire for the final 10 laps of the Grand Prix, and you can see he was absolutely flying. I'd gotten my fourth gear back at this point, and that's was quite noticeable that my pace would be a lot better than what it was just beforehand. So I was all over the back of Magnussen. It was a bit of a moment there in the chicane. I swear the simulation damage is still broken in this game. It makes 0 sense because I just drove into the back of him twice and not anything on the wing here now. But now going for a potential move on Magnussen as we head down towards the hairpin, and here we go, wheel to wheel, axle to axle, and through into 12th place we go again as we try to hang on. Actually, Magnussen went wide there. That opened the door for Zhou Guanyu, who's going to lunge one up my inside. These battles just don't end here today, so he's going to go through. And instead of battling Zhou, I decided, you know what, I'm going to ride behind you for a few moments. Lap 25, a lap later, we're going to actually go for the overtake again, see what we can do. We pass him up in 12th again, and then here we go again. He goes back past me, bringing Oscar Piastri, though, into the mix this time as well. Now I decided to just ride. I'm going to wait until the right time to where I think I can just not have to deal with getting past anymore before I pass Zhou, because there's only a couple laps of racing left in the whole season at this point here and now, as we just didn't have the pace I wanted. And now here comes Piastri to fight back up the inside. Now we're going to go alongside Zhou into the corner here side by side, and we're going to come through to take the position because Zhou got a bit of curbing, a little bit too much, and that was able to allow me to cruise through and take the position of 12th again here. Now fortunately though, he would not get an opportunity to pass me back here, and we start the final lap now, and he was nearly a second behind. So we get this final lap of the season underway. Like I said, it didn't have the pace that I wanted in this Grand Prix when I thought we would because of how good we were in qualifying. It just didn't translate into the Grand Prix. We still beat our teammate of Tsunoda so far. Lewis Hamilton, however, has been in control from start to finish. He didn't start on pole, but he passed Russell very early on, and he is rounding now the final few corners here in Abu Dhabi through the final turn. Lewis Hamilton, second win of the season, and kicking off potentially season 2 coming up. Very, very much momentum on his side as Verstappen signs second and third. Now as season 1 comes to an end in pretty calm fashion here, aside from the Lance Stroll spin, nothing really happened. Now as we head through the final turn, P12 and the season finale in our final ever race with AlphaTauri.
Well, there it is, mate. The checkered flag comes down on the season. It might have been a tough season. We've definitely had some tough moments in it, but I hope there's been some times in there that you've enjoyed. I know there have been for me, and there's lots to learn, so hopefully we can go again, and next time we'll do better.
Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
I just want to say thank you, as we'll see the podium celebrations, but thank you for the support all season 1. We didn't, or I should say, I was hoping to be further along by now in the series, but 2 major internet outages changed the timeline of things. So that's been annoying, but I've worked around it the best I can, and now we've finished season 1, and hopefully, knock on wood, I am knocking on wood right now. I'm really hoping that we don't have any more major internet outages anytime soon, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But yeah, season 1 comes to a wrap. You see Hamilton, Verstappen signs there on that podium now as we take a look at the final finishing order. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up here for myself in season 1. We kick off season 2 probably not tomorrow, but the day after with, of course, our debut with Aston Martin. That's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you guys one more time. I'll see you guys for season 2. Have a great day, everybody.